What does it take to rise from nothing and become one of the most powerful women in the world? Not fame, not luck, resilience. Oprah Winfrey's journey from poverty, abuse, and abandonment to media royalty is one of the most raw, inspiring stories of modern times. But behind her billions and global influence is a painful past most people never hear about. In this video, we're unpacking the real story, the trauma, the triumphs, and the turning points that shaped Oprah into a force the world couldn't ignore. If you've ever felt like the odds are stacked against you, this story might just change how you see your own. Born into nothing and left behind. Oprah wasn't born into privilege. She was born into poverty. She came into this world in rural Mississippi in 1954 to an unwed teenage mother. Her father wasn't in the picture. Her grandmother raised her on a farm, with no running water and barely enough to eat. Clothes were often made from potato sacks. Even at a young age, Oprah felt the weight of abandonment. There was no safety net, no financial support, and no one telling her she was destined for greatness. From day one, she was fighting for survival, not success. That fight would define her spirit long before she found a spotlight. Raised on pain, not praise. While most kids grow up with encouragement, Oprah grew up with criticism. Her grandmother, though strict and hardworking, used discipline as a tool for control. Love was conditional, if present at all. When Oprah was sent to live with her mother, things got worse. The home was chaotic, unstable, and lacking the emotional warmth children need. There were no bedtime stories or "you can be anything" speeches, just silence, survival, and struggle. That kind of emotional vacuum doesn't just hurt, it shapes your entire sense of self. But even then, Oprah was watching, learning, and storing away every scar as fuel for something bigger, surviving sexual abuse in silence. One of the darkest chapters in Oprah's life began when she was just 9 years old. She was molested by her cousin, later by a family friend, and then by her mother's boyfriend. It wasn't a one-time incident. It was a cycle of trauma, repeated and hidden, because she had no one to tell, or no one who would listen. For years, Oprah lived with the pain in silence, feeling worthless and afraid. That trauma could have destroyed her. For many, it does. But somehow, Oprah turned that pain into purpose later in life. She broke the silence not just for herself, but for millions of others, running away and getting pregnant at 14. By the time she was 14, Oprah had run away from home. She was desperate to escape the abuse and instability that defined her childhood. Shortly after, she became pregnant. At that age, she wasn't just a child herself. She was a child carrying another. Sadly, her baby died shortly after birth. That loss hit hard, but it also marked a turning point. For Oprah, that moment represented the end of one chapter and the painful beginning of another. She had a choice: stay broken or rebuild. The world never expected her to rise. That's exactly why she did. The man who made her believe again. When Oprah moved in with her father, Vernon Winfrey, her life began to shift. He was strict, but he believed in education and discipline. He enforced curfews, required book reports, and pushed her to reach higher. For the first time, Oprah had structure, and someone who expected something of her. That belief planted a seed. Under his roof, she started winning speech contests, getting good grades, and imagining a future beyond the trauma. He didn't give her everything, but he gave her the framework to believe in herself again. Sometimes the right person at the right time doesn't save you, but they show you how to save yourself. Finding her voice on the airwaves. At 17, Oprah landed her first radio job. Her voice, deep and confident even then, stood out. That first mic wasn't just a job. It was an escape route. It allowed her to channel her emotions into something powerful. She wasn't reading news. She was rewriting her story. Radio opened the door to TV, and her raw honesty made her unforgettable. Unlike other broadcasters, she didn't hide emotion. She used it. She didn't conform to the mold. She broke it. From that moment on, she wasn't just reporting stories. She was becoming one. That voice, once silenced by trauma, was now her greatest tool. TV rejection and racism almost derailed her. Oprah's early TV career wasn't smooth. At a news station in Baltimore, she was told she was too emotional, too black, and too different for television. She was demoted, criticized, and sidelined. But what others saw as weakness, she saw as authenticity. Instead of quitting, she leaned into who she was. Eventually, she was offered a spot on a struggling daytime talk show. That show, AM Chicago, exploded in popularity, and within months, it became the Oprah Winfrey Show. She didn't change to fit TV. She made TV change for her. Every rejection she faced just became another reason to push harder, turning trauma into purpose. Oprah didn't hide her painful past. She shared it, openly, on national television. And that changed everything. In an era when victims stayed silent, Oprah gave them a voice. She turned her platform into a place for healing, not just headlines. Whether it was abuse, addiction, or mental health, she brought taboo topics into the light. That honesty created a connection with millions of viewers who felt seen for the first time. Her past didn't define her, but it absolutely drove her. She turned her pain into power, her wounds into wisdom, and her story into a movement that helped others find their own. Becoming a billionaire on her own terms. Oprah didn't just build a brand, she built an empire. She negotiated ownership rights to the Oprah Winfrey Show, becoming one of the first women in history to own her own nationally syndicated program. That decision made her millions, then billions. She launched her own network, owing in, and became a media mogul who controlled every aspect of her platform. But here's the key, she did it her way. No compromising, no selling out. She trusted her instincts, invested in herself, and turned authenticity into currency. She didn't just break the glass ceiling, she rewrote the floor plan entirely. Giving back was never optional. Oprah always knew success wasn't just for her, it was for others too. She's donated hundreds of millions to education, women's empowerment, and healthcare. She founded the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls in South Africa, giving girls from broken backgrounds the same shot she never had. But beyond money, she gives something deeper: hope, belief, and opportunity. She shows people what's possible when you bet on yourself. For Oprah, giving back isn't an obligation. It's an extension of who she is. The pain she endured wasn't wasted. It was transformed into a bridge for others to walk across, still standing in the face of doubt. Even after all her success, Oprah still faces critics, people who question her influence, her choices, or her relevance. But she doesn't flinch. Her journey taught her how to weather storms long before the world was watching. She's not moved by noise. She's moved by purpose. Through shifting media landscapes, social backlash, and personal losses, she's remained centered. Because for Oprah, staying grounded isn't about routine. It's about remembering where she came from. She never forgot the little girl in Mississippi with no shoes and big dreams. That's her power. Not just surviving the journey, but carrying her past with pride. The legacy is bigger than the fame. Oprah's legacy isn't about ratings or revenue. It's about impact. She changed what a talk show could be, what a black woman in media could achieve, and what survivors of trauma could become. She used every setback as a stepping stone and built a life that continues to elevate others. Her story is a masterclass in reinvention and in reclaiming power where it was once stolen. Fame fades, fortune fluctuates, but purpose, that lasts. Oprah's legacy is living proof that where you start doesn't determine where you'll end up. It's how you choose to rise every single time you're knocked down. Oprah Winfrey didn't just beat the odds, she redefined them. From an abused, abandoned child to a media powerhouse and philanthropist, her story is a reminder that pain doesn't have to be permanent, and struggle can shape strength. If this journey moved you, inspired you, or made you think twice about your own path, hit that like button. Drop a comment and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Don't forget to subscribe to Spark Your Soul for more real stories that light a fire inside you. Your comeback starts the moment you believe in it.